everyone.
Hi, Dean.
Okay. We have everyone. 2, 3,
Hello.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Perfect. Okay. Council will come to order. All rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to
to
the
the
flag
flag
of the
United
United
States
States
of America and to the republic for which it stands,
stands
one nation,
nation
under
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our veterans, servicemen and women, and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. You may be seated. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Anderson here.
Kamal,
Mel here.
Condon,
Condon here.
Crow,
Here.
DeMaria,
Here.
Linehan,
Linehan here.
Murphy,
Murphy here.
O'Malley,
O'Malley here.
Spatafora,
Spatafora here.
Winslow,
Winslow here.
Pika,
Here.
all here.
Under the provisions of the open meeting law, for those of you in attendance, please be informed that MATV, along with us, is recording this evening's meeting. Again, there will be audio and video recording of this evening's meeting.
Yeah, okay.
First order of business.
Just a little bit, it's guest citizen Chris Webb of the Board of Health was supposed to appear but won't appear. Council President Secret, that's correct? Because of
Yes.
illness?
Yes.
Okay. Approval of minutes, paper 274-20, minutes of the meeting of September 15th, 2020, and paper 275-20, minutes of the meeting of September 8th, 2020.
I'll make a motion, Councilor Seeker, to accept those
Councilor
minutes.
DeMaria's motion, seconded by
Second.
Councilor Condon. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamal,
Mel, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow,
Yes.
DeMaria,
Yes.
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora,
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika,
Sika, yes.
carries 11-0.
Next order of business.
Hearings, petitions, paper 276-20, petition Comcast, grant of locations for new underground conduit system of the following addresses and related manhole covers: 28 Lebanon Street, 417-429 Main Street, Commercial Street, Exchange Street manhole cover, and Main Street 384-390 Main Street, Exchange Street, Pleasant Street, Middlesex Street.
Do we have somebody on here from Comcast? Oh, good evening.
Evening, Dave Llewellyn from Comcast. I would like to speak in favor of the petition to be able to provide service to the businesses located in the downtown Malden area as part of this project.
Can you just state your address for the record?
Yes, 9 Forbes Road, Woburn, Mass.
Great, thank you. Okay, so you can speak.
So could you, I'm sorry, could you just repeat which petition that was, what the address was, the number? I've got like 4 of them in front of me here, kind of spread out. I apologize.
It's first one's 28 Lebanon Street.
28 Lebanon Street. Okay, yep, sorry. All right, so Lebanon Street, starting at utility pole number 2712, excavating to place 1 4-inch PVC conduit, 55 feet plus or minus to number 28 Lebanon Street, as shown on the attached construction plans. So this address, actually, we had a request for the service. For whatever reason, the customer did decide to cancel the service. However, we would like to move forward with the grant the location in hopes of that customer coming back on board or another future customer at a later date.
Okay. Councilor Kamel?
Hi, yeah, thank you. Yes, hi, I'm Dave Kamel, the council for Ward 6. So this is serving the, what is soon to be vacated, presently Citizens Bank. And this work would entail going across Lebanon Street, is that correct?
Correct.
And taking up pavement and having to repave that?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, it's just I'm wondering why, if we don't know what's going in there yet, or if it's needed yet, what's the benefit of this service upgrade?
Well, you mean the benefit of moving forward with the grant the location where the customer has decided not to move forward?
Right. So right now the facility has some kind of connectivity, but this would be upgrading it.
No, we don't have any there's no Comcast service currently providing service to this building, so this would be a new installation for them.
So this would provide future tenants the flexibility to use
Absolutely, yes.
Comcast. Okay, which would help the marketability of the property with the new owner looking to fill it with a new business.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. Just wanted clarification. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to declare this portion of the, oh, did somebody just have their hand up? Councilor O'Malley, I'm sorry, your boxes are bouncing all over my screen. I can't.
My apologies.
No worries. You were in my top left-hand corner and then you ended up in my bottom right. So I apologize. Okay, go ahead.
I didn't get a chance to walk the site at this location with Comcast, but I did have the chance to walk the site with the other locations. And I just wanted to inform the council and Councilor Kamal specifically that Comcast has agreed for all of their petitions tonight to restore the road and the sidewalks completely, curb to curb. It was very generous of them, and they just really want to get this done before the winter. So they were able to make that concession. So if we do grant these, we should make sure that we put that as a condition.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I am going to declare the public hearing open. Anybody on wish to speak in favor of this petition? Anybody wish to speak in favor? I'll give it a second. Okay, hearing none and seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Anybody wish to speak in opposition of this petition? Anybody wish to speak in opposition? Hearing none and seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Do we have a motion to approve this petition?
Motion to approve.
On Councilor Winslow's motion, do we have a second?
Anderson, second.
Okay, on Councilor Winslow's motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Anderson, the clerk will call, Councilor O'Malley.
Do we have to read the conditions that we usually read?
I can, let me see.
Because there's usually
Sorry, I'm trying to read it on my phone and it's super, here we go. Okay, so on Councilor Winslow's motion, seconded by Councilor Condon. We're gonna
Anderson.
make a motion
Anderson.
to grant with the following conditions: that the engineer be called when DigSafe is notified, and that the streets and sidewalks be restored to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works. The clerk will call the roll.
and then the additional two conditions that they will restore the road and sidewalks completely curb to curb.
I just said that.
Oh, did you? Sorry, my apologies.
That's okay.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamel,
Mel, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow.
Sorry.
Sorry. DeMaria,
Yes.
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora,
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes.
Petitions granted 11-0.
Petition is granted. Next order of business.
417-429 Main Street.
Okay.
Council President,
Yes.
can we ask Mr. Fluemming, if he hasn't left yet, if he can leave a phone number with our clerk of committees? I've got some other Comcast issues not related to these petitions that I'd like to speak with him about, that are neighborhood issues.
Sure.
Certainly.
Is he still there?
He
Yes.
is.
Would you, sir, would you leave your name and number with our clerk of committees, Lisa Cago, please?
Yes.
I'd like to be in touch with you.
Okay. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you ready for this next one?
All set.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. You can speak whenever you're ready. Just make sure you say your name and your address for the record.
Yes, Dave Llewellyn, Comcast, 9 Forbes Road, Woburn, Mass. This petition, 417-429 Main Street, is actually part of the bigger downtown area project. So therefore, from the newly proposed manhole that I'll be speaking about on the next petition, we'll be excavating to place 3 4-inch PVC conduits and 1 4-inch PVC conduit, 291 feet plus or minus, to each of the businesses on Main Street as shown on the attached construction plan. That would be 417 through 429 Main Street.
Okay. Councilor O'Malley, is this you?
This is me. And so I did walk the site with Comcast, and we'll add the same conditions with one additional one for some of these because it goes within tree lines.
Okay. All right. So I declare this portion of the public hearing open. Anybody wish to speak in favor of these petitions? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
I'll speak in favor if I can.
Sure.
So as stated, Comcast met on site. We walked to every location that they were proposing. We discussed some of the challenges that they would be facing with our infrastructure. And I am comfortable with what is being proposed. There is a gap in their service in the downtown, and they are trying to piggyback off of the work that's going on Exchange Street and some of the surrounding streets, so that they don't have to dig up some roads so that they don't have to dig up roads in the future. Where they will be digging up freshly paved roads, like as I've said, they have agreed to repave curb to curb. So I do speak in favor of this application.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor? Hearing none and seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Anybody wish to speak in opposition of this petition? Anyone wish to speak in opposition? Hearing none and seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Councilor O'Malley, would you like to make a motion to grant this petition?
I would make a motion to grant this petition with the traditional conditions that we set, as well as a requirement that roads and sidewalks are completely restored curb to curb, and with one additional condition that whenever work is done within the drip line of a tree, trenches will be hand dug in order to not destroy the roots.
Okay. Anybody wish to second that motion?
Second.
Okay, on Councilor O'Malley's motion, seconded by Councilor Winslow, to grant this petition with the following conditions: that the engineer be called when dig safe is notified, that the trees and sidewalks be restored to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works, curb to curb, and the tree trench.
And that when digging within the drip line of a tree, the trenches are hand dug.
Great. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamel,
Kamel, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Di Maria,
yes,
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora,
Spatafora,
yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes.
Petitions granted 11-0.
Next order of business.
Still paper 276-20. The location is Commercial Street, Exchange Street, Manhole cover, Main Street 384-390, Main Street, Exchange Street, Pleasant Street, and Middlesex Street.
Okay. Mr. Flowing,
Dave Llewellyn, Comcast, 9 Forbes Road, Woburn, Mass. Exchange Street, locating the existing conduit on Exchange Street and placing a 3x3 manhole over the conduit in the sidewalk. From the newly placed manhole, excavating to place 2 4-inch PVC conduits, 160 feet plus or minus to a proposed manhole located in the sidewalk on Main Street. Main Street, from the newly placed manhole, excavating to place 2 4-inch PVC conduits and 1 4-inch PVC conduit to each of the businesses on Main Street, totaling 1,025 feet plus or minus. There will also be 6 3x3 proposed manholes placed in the sidewalks on Main Street. Middlesex Street, locating the existing conduit in the sidewalk and placing a 3x3 manhole over the conduit in the sidewalk. From the newly placed manhole, excavating to place 2 4-inch PVC conduits, 175 feet to a proposed 3x3 manhole on Pleasant Street. And Pleasant Street, from the newly placed manhole, excavating to place 3 4-inch PVC conduits, 352 feet plus or minus.
Councilor O'Malley.
I'll speak in favor when you open up the.
Okay. I now declare the portion of the public hearing open. Oh, Councilor Crowe, did you want to speak in favor? Or did you have a question?
I did have a question because when you were talking about Exchange Street and Pleasant Street and Main Street, the commercial street. So is that because it's all in that same petition? So where on commercial, how far down from Exchange Street down Commercial Street past the big intersection? How does it go past that intersection?
So the commercial street would be part of the other petition.
Okay. The which petition? The one that we just heard, or
there's another one. There's one more.
Okay, it's all like put it all in together at once. So that's why you didn't mention commercial street. So that's why I had the
It's all kind of one big project, basically.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Winslow, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so just question. So this really will be basically tearing up sidewalk mostly rather than the street. It sounds like the conduit's being laid under the sidewalk then. Is that
It'll be a combination of both. The main ones will be in the street and the service connections and vaults and manholes will be placed in the sidewalk areas to keep them out of the roadway for access, at later dates, just not to interfere with traffic every time we need to go into a vault or a manhole. That's why they're being placed in the sidewalk areas.
Okay, and then I assume Councilor O'Malley, did you get a chance to see any impact on tree potential or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, this petition is the reason why we are adding the requirement that they hand dig in the drip line of trees.
So you're confident that we'll still be able to maintain the trees as part of the work then? I mean, that's the condition?
I do, anything could happen. I'm hoping that they are very delicate when they take off the top layer of concrete or asphalt or sidewalk. I think that I will coordinate with the city engineer to make sure that when they do that work, I'm out there just to at least check that initial dig. And
that commitment is to fully replace sidewalk with concrete and not asphalt then, so that the replacement sidewalk will be concrete.
It'll be the same material that it was there before. So this actually does impact on a lot of the brick work in the square. So they will be replacing it with brick where they need to.
Okay. Well, thank you. Great.
Thank you. Councilor Spatafor.
Yeah, I would just entertain making an amendment to this. I mean, if we're so concerned about the tree impact, and I think Council O'Malley just attested to it, there's no way we can guarantee, even if they dig, it's not going to hurt the tree. Maybe we just add an amendment. If the tree dies within 3 months of it, we make them replace the tree like we make the sidewalk. So I would just add language to that. I mean, it is construction. I mean, even if they try their best, in all fairness, things could happen and the tree could die. So maybe you say, if the tree dies due to the construction, I know it's hard to tie it, but you'd know pretty quickly. They just replace the tree.
But the only thing I would say is that if this is work done before the end of the season, you might not know until spring.
Yeah, yeah, but we could track it. I'm assuming, right? I mean, we could certainly track it. I mean, I'm just saying if we could, and I'm not saying we don't have to be concerned. I'm just, if it dies after, we make them replace the sidewalk, make them replace the tree. That's all I had. If there's no second amendment, that's fine.
No,
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam.
I would second that. I would second that and just clarify that the petitioner actually did commit to that. I wouldn't put a 3-month or any time frame on it, but I'll be out there taking pictures, and if the tree does die in the next season, I think that we have a good relationship with Comcast. They'll make it right.
So do you want to do an amendment, or you just want to make it a condition?
Make it a condition.
Okay. All right. So no other hands are up. I declare this part of the public hearing open. Anybody wish to speak in favor of this petition? Councilor O'Malley?
Again, I'll speak in favor for the same reasons earlier. Walked with Comcast, had a great working relationship with them when we were walking around. They were very, very agreeable to what we were talking about, and they've agreed to restore sidewalks, street, and trees to existing conditions.
Great, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor of this petition? Hearing none and seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Anybody wish to speak in opposition of this petition? Anyone wish to speak in opposition? Hearing none and seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. On Councilor O'Malley's motion to grant this petition, seconded by?
As amended.
We're going to add it as a condition, not an amendment.
Oh, okay.
Will you
Sorry.
second? Will you second his motion?
I will. Sorry.
Okay.
Yep, I will.
Seconded by Councilor Spatafora to grant this petition with the following conditions: that the engineer be called when DigSafe is notified, and that the streets and sidewalks be restored to the satisfaction of the Director of the Public Works, curb to curb, and that if the tree dies within,
If the tree dies after construction, the petitioner will replace the
we'll
tree,
replace the tree.
and that any work within the drip line be done with using hand.
Okay,
Thank you.
great, thank you. The clerk will call the roll.
If I could just ask Mr. Llewellyn. So we read it as Commercial Street, Exchange Street, Manhole cover. That should be one petition, and the other petition is Main Street, 384, 390 Main Street. So I think there was a total of 4 petitions, correct?
Correct, there is.
Okay, so those are kind of read together. So the first one would be on Commercial Street, the hearing on, which would be the 3rd petition.
Okay,
The next one, I think the Commercial Street, that's what I had just asked. So this one is the Main Street.
Main Street.
390.
Okay, so this is Main Street. Okay, so Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamel,
Mel, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Di Maria,
yes,
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora,
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika,
Sika, yes.
carries 11-0.
Next order of business.
So the next order would be the petition for Commercial Street, Exchange Street manhole cover.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Yes. Dave Llewellyn, Comcast, 9 Forbes Road, Woburn, Mass. Commercial Street, starting at the existing manhole on Exchange Street, excavating in a southerly direction to place 2 4-inch PVC conduits, 290 feet plus or minus, to a proposed 3x3 manhole. From the newly placed manhole, excavating to place 2 4-inch PVC conduits, 300 feet plus or minus, to utility pole number 2. So this installation is actually just connecting, from basically Exchange Street to the utility pole. It gives us continuity between that gap in Commercial Street where we don't have any conduit. Gives us basically a diverse path, to connect all of our cable together from point A to point B.
Counselor O'Malley?
So I also walked the site with this, and Councilor Crowdy, to your question, it goes about just 2 telephone poles in beyond the intersection with Route 60, and it's, I think, just beyond the driveway of the bank. And they've again agreed to resurface curb to curb.
Counselor Crowe?
So, sort of my question around like that intersection. So the whole intersection is going to be redone, or because that's a pretty big intersection.
It is.
So if this is done curb to curb, that whole intersection will be done,
That's correct.
including well, I was thinking the crosswalks or whatever, if you have those that get disturbed.
We won't be disturbing the when you say the crosswalks, you mean the painted lines for the striping for the crosswalks, correct?
Right.
Yeah, we'll take care of the restriping of the sidewalks, whatever's disturbed.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Counselor Winslow?
Yeah, I don't know all the details of the engineering of that intersection and whether there's any traffic loops, but I guess I would add that to the conditions of making sure that, crosswalk striping, striping in any looping that might be impacted, that's installed in the asphalt there. So yeah, I don't know the details of that, but I think we should make that as a condition to the satisfaction of the city engineer. I know we did pay to improve the pedestrian lights there, so but I don't know if that has some loop detectors and stuff like that would be in the asphalt that would be impacted. So those should be something that would have to be replaced if they have to be, damaged in any way. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? I declare the public hearing open. Anybody wish to speak in favor of this petition? Anybody wish to speak in favor? Counselor O'Malley?
Again, I speak in favor for all the past reasons. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak in favor of this petition? Hearing none and seeing none, I declare that portion of the public hearing closed. Anybody wish to speak in opposition of this petition? Anybody wish to speak in opposition? Hearing none and seeing none, I declare that portion of the public hearing closed. Counselor O'Malley, would you like to make a motion for this?
Motion to approve with the following conditions.
Yep, seconded by,
I'll second it.
okay. On Counselor O'Malley's motion to grant this petition with the following conditions, that the engineer be called when DigSafe is notified, and that the streets and sidewalks be restored to the satisfaction of the Director of the Public Works, and any issues with the looping, Counselor Winslow?
Yeah, any loop detectors or pavement markings, I guess.
Be replaced if necessary.
Yeah.
The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamel,
Kamel, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow,
Yes.
DeMaria,
yes,
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
Well, yes.
Spatafora,
About a 4 yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes.
Petition is granted 11-0.
The petition is granted. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Flelling.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
You too.
Next order of business, clerk.
So we're gonna go back to public comment,
Okay,
and I did get some emails and some letters, so there was 29 or 30 in total. So I do have the first 15 that I received in order that I'll read. You ready?
yep.
Okay, Clerk Lucy, please add this comment to the public comments for the 9/22/20 City Council meeting. Thank you. I write to request that the council table or reject order paper number 281-20 at this time. unless the loan funds can be used flexibly for park improvements that do not include an artificial turf field. At a time of unprecedented economic instability and community need for elements of basic survival like food and shelter, Malden should stop falling victim to the sunk cost fallacy and refrain from expending further resources on the Roosevelt Park artificial turf project. The Community Preservation Committee has discussed asking the council to rescind the existing bonding authorization for Roosevelt given the cost overruns and project changes, and the council should follow the lead of the committee in reassessing where our resources should be allocated at this time. Thank you, Caitlin Peel Sloan, 69 Columbia Street. Dear Councilor Sika, I'm forwarding an email I wrote to the Mayor, Council Kamel, and Ms. Burke of the MRA. It is in regard to the City Council agenda item number 281-20. Please read it into the public record at your council meeting on Tuesday, September 22nd. Dear Mayor Christensen, Council Kamel, and Ms. Burke, you're aware of my opposition to the plan to pave 3 acres of natural grass at Roosevelt Park with artificial turf. My reason for this, that our city, and especially this neighborhood, doesn't have enough natural green space as it is to be able to spare the loss of those 3 acres. The current heat island that plagues the area, which would be expanded by adding this plastic rug, the proximity of 4 other artificial turf fields, the loss of access of nature for our kids still stand. I'm vehemently opposed to taking out a loan to cover the budget shortfall. The taxpayers should not have to pay the price for the project's failure. We are already using $1.45 million of taxpayer CPC funds, which will not be available for other projects for the next 10 years. And now we are being asked to set aside another how many years of lost opportunity costs. I keep on hearing how poor Malden is. We don't have enough money to adequately fund the maintenance of our natural grass fields, $105,000 in the annual budget. We don't have enough money to replace our lost street trees, $25,000 annually, when being a Tree City USA community requires an annual budget of at least $2 per capita. At $25,000 tree planting budget line item, we don't even spend 50 cents per capita on buying trees. We don't have enough money to save our mature shade trees when we do the sidewalks over because building around them costs more money than clear cutting all the trees. If we don't have enough money to maintain our natural urban ecosystem, then how do we have enough money to pay back a $1.2 million loan? What is being cut to pay for the loan? CDBG grants to help low-income homeowners pay for home improvements, CDBG grants for lead abatement, CDBG grants for first-time home buyers. What is being cut? And why are the citizen voters and taxpayers of Malden only be given a weekend advance notice before this issue appears before the City Council for a vote? Stephanie Alberto, 137 Laurel Street. Dear Clerk Lucy, I respectfully request this correspondence to be read into the record during the public comments section of September 22nd City Council meeting. This refers to file number paper 281-20. I asked the City Council vote in opposition to applying for the $1.2 million HUD Section 108 loan called for in file 281-20. This project is well over budget and lacks the citizen participation plan required by HUD. It's important to note our Community Preservation Committee met on September 8th and discussed asking the City Council to comprehensively rescind all previously requested bond money for this project. As we stated at that meeting, it does not seem to be the same project that we signed off on a year and a half ago, and it seems like this is the reasonable thing to do. Moreover, this $1.2 million funding request is not in compliance with requirements of Mass General Law 44B or Malden's charter. The charter states there shall be established within the city of Malden a Board of Parks Commissioners consisting of 5 persons appointed by the mayor with approval of the City Council. By the power of the city charter, this board is required to serve as an advisory capacity to the Public Works Commission on matters on policy and administration regarding parks in the city of Malden. The Public Works Commission, in consultation with the Board of Park Commissioners, has authority under Mass General Laws 44B and Malden's charter to review all projects with CPA-related funding requests identified in file 281-20. I respectfully request any future council approval of funding related to any Community Preservation Act projects be deferred until such time as a Board of Park Commissioners is established in accordance with Malden's charter and Mass General Laws 44B. Thank you for your further consideration and review. Sincerely, Brian DeLacy, 1 Earl Street, Malden. Good evening. I would like the following message be shared at public comment at Tuesday City Council meeting 9/22 with regard to the Roosevelt Park proposal. I am writing to express my opposition to the Roosevelt Park plan as it currently stands and to encourage the city to consider an alternative plan that would keep the parks as natural grass. I'm a resident of 15 Harding Ave, a couple blocks from Roosevelt Park. Our neighborhood benefits from having natural green space. Even more importantly, the children who attend the Salem School have a place where they can play for much of the year round. Community members frequently use the park for playing volleyball and soccer. While the current plan is geared towards supporting more structured youth sporting activities, I don't think it would be good for serving the needs of kids at recess or people who are not involved in organized sports. At previous meetings, the company representatives described the increase in temperature that would result from a turf field as being substantial. An 80-degree day could be a great day to play outdoors in a grass park, but not on a turf park that could easily heat up to 90 degrees or more. Given the considerable amount of city money that would need to go in this project either way, I urge you to consider an all-grass alternative that better meets the community needs and has a lot of support from residents. Thank you, Daniel Najee, 15 Harding Ave, Malden. Dear Clerk, City Clerk Lucy, I respectfully request this correspondence be read into the record during the public comment section on the September 22nd City Council meeting. This refers to file 281-20. I would like to relay my opposition to the request. Excuse me for 1 second. I'd like to relay my opposition to the request from the mayor for the MRA to apply for a $1.2 million HUD Section 108 loan. The Roosevelt Park Improvement Project is grossly over budget. As a taxpayer and resident, sinking more taxpayer funds into the project that continues to grow in cost is not fiscally prudent. HUD funding should not be used for a project that is already hyperextended in cost and does not have the majority of the community support. The project is also no longer has the full support of the Community Preservation Committee, which has initiated the process of voting on a motion to request the City Council to rescind the bonding authorization and return the funds back to the spending account for other projects that are supported by the entire community. The Roosevelt Community Park Plan has been submitted to the Community Preservation Committee as an alternative to the artificial turf proposal, but is awaiting clarification from the city as to which department actually has site control over Malden's parks. This community park plan is a more inclusive park renovation plan that supports all the recommendations made at the Malden vulnerability plan. It is designed as an area of passive green space for the neighborhood and school children and for users of the bike trail. It includes a grass sports field, a basketball court, garden area, an outdoor classroom, and stage for community events. Thank you for your consideration. Kathleen Sullivan, 27 Oliver Street, Malden, Mass. Dear Clerk Lucy, I respectfully request this correspondence to be read into the record during the public comments section of the September 22nd City Council meeting. This refers to file 281-20. The currently proposed infill Brockville was not sufficiently introduced at the 2019 community meetings. There are concerns about its antimicrobial properties that have not been addressed. Early this year at a Conservation Commission meeting, a spokesman for the city indicated Brockville would not harbor mold because it would not be wet. The Brockville website discloses the material can absorb water right out of the air. Roosevelt Park is in a flood plan with a proposed drainage design that would retain water beneath the field. It is reasonable to conclude that Brockville could get moldy and not perform as advertised. Brockville is cooler and crumb rubber. What it is hotter than grass, and it's still too hot. Changing the infill does not change the other synthetic components such as plastic carpet, which still contribute to heat. This means that the current design still generates unwanted heat islands effects that would have a negative impact on the neighborhood, athletes, and the environment. Recommendations resulting from the Massachusetts Toxins User Reduction Act of 1989, TURA, conclude real grass is a safer option. The council should not support a design that has been deemed less safe by the most credible and knowledgeable scientific experts in Massachusetts. Finally, the mayor's letter of support identifies the Roosevelt Park Improvement Project will now include a sprinting track and 4 shooting areas. These are elements proposed in the alternative Roosevelt Community Park proposal. However, the image provided by the mayor does not appear to incorporate these proposed changes. Additionally, there is no itemization of the cost components of the updated proposal, seeking a 50% funding increase over the previously approved project description. The council should not vote to fund a project which has incomplete, apparently inaccurate proposal documentation. Sincerely, John Sayer, 39 Fair Street, Malden. Dear Mr. Lucy, would you please include the following in the city council meeting public comments? Dear Council President, Speaker, and councilors, as you consider to vote to approve an application by the MRA for a 108 loan of $1.2 million for additional funds in support of Roosevelt renovation, please be advised that the citizens of Malden is in opposition for the following reasons. While it is a desire to put this controversial project to rest, it is not the time for Malden to assume this debt and tax burden. In addition to many of its complex pre-pandemic challenges the city faces, Malden may be required to manage several unanticipated crises secondary to COVID-19. Unanticipated crises and costs could relate directly to morbidity, mortality, health, income disparities, housing, homelessness, snowstorms, flooding due to climate change, unemployment, and food insecurity. To impose additional financial responsibility on Malden's already lean budget environment, plus incorporating this loan debt into the equation of real estate taxes would be harmful and irresponsible. Even if there were an excess of funds in the budget, I believe taking on a $1.2 million debt is not the priority at this time. If a nest egg is found, I suggest there's many other unmet needs that should be addressed. Halting the Roosevelt Park project for the time being would allow for further discernment as to the best course of action. Respectfully submitted, D. Campbell Tompkins, Ward 217, Chester Street. Dear Malden City Council, first off, thank you for your valuable and generous service to our city. I'm writing to ask that you continue support for the planned renovation of Roosevelt Park. I'm currently the volunteer president of the Malden Youth Soccer Association. In my years on the board, I've gained a deep appreciation for the capacity of youth sports to unite people in our community. Thousands of players, family members, and volunteers come together every year to pursue betterment of our youth. I trust that the council recognizes some of the value of the sports like soccer bring to our city, and I ask that you seize the opportunity to protect the critical resource we have in a full-size playing field at Roosevelt. It is vital for youth sports in the city that a multi-purpose field capable of high numbers be restored at Roosevelt as quickly as possible. Soccer is the largest youth sports activity in the city. In a typical year, 600 to 700 students, many from Salemwood, will play on our teams. We produce around 30 travel teams in heavy seasons, which each require 5 hours of field time every week. Given that finite field space is shared with many other sports organizations in the city, we often bump up against the limits in meeting this demand. Teams are often forced into late night practices, crowded fields, and reduced access. The lack of adequate field space inhibits our ability to reach a full potential, which is between 2 and 3 times our current numbers. Losing a full field at Roosevelt would be irreversibly catastrophic to soccer and other sports in the city. My understanding is that artificial turf is the only surface that can withstand the expected demand at that location. Using organic infill addresses the concerns some may have of toxins and local heating associated with crumb rubber infill. The cost to build and maintain an artificial field appears to be lower than natural grass surface. This design is preferred by travel-age soccer players and coaches because of its resiliency in wet and high-use conditions. It seems clear that Roosevelt renovation is currently designed, and I can see no reason to delay its completion any longer. I am a supporter of green causes. I consider climate change to be humanity's most ominous challenge, and I wish our society would do more to confront our environmental decay. But it would be deeply unfair and anti-productive to burden our youth with the token and in effect sacrifice of playing field at Roosevelt. If our objective is to create a healthier environment, we should not deprive our youth of the resources that make them healthier and better prepared for the world ahead. There are far more effective solutions to local and global environmental concerns than eliminating or delaying a playing field in our city. Dear Malden City Council members, speaking for the Malden Pop Warner football and cheerleading players, coaches, and families, we are asking all of you to keep on supporting the plan to upgrade and rehabilitate Roosevelt Park, which is called the Roosevelt Park Improvement Project. I have attended several meetings held in the city of Malden where plans to the park were discussed, and we're very impressed by details of the project. which would provide a beautiful state-of-the-art safe park for use by Malden residents. Many of the residents who attended the meeting were also in favor of the project of the meeting I attended. We have over 300 football players and football cheerleaders who participate in Malden Papuana football and cheerleading, and often we must practice in cramped field space. Malden needs more field space to accommodate its teams in all of its sports, including football and cheerleading. With an upgrade to Roosevelt Park, it would greatly help our program since our youngest football players and our cheerleading girls could go to a new safe park and hold their practices. Our players and cheerleaders have practiced and played on artificial turf for many years, hundreds of games and thousands of practices, and we really miss the night since wet weather does not affect its ability to be used. Before we had turf fields, inclement weather brought fields that got wet, muddy, unsafe conditions a lot of the times. Please continue to support the Roosevelt Park Improvement Project with your votes for additional funding methods so that Malden Papuana football and cheerleading can continue to thrive. A lot of their kids and parents are counting on you. Sincerely yours, Helen Kipnis, Malden Papuana football and cheerleading president. Dear City Councilors, I am Tom Robertson, president of Malden Youth Lacrosse. Along with a member of my board, we coordinate all activities for the season for over 200 boys and girls in the city of Malden. Our program is one of the most popular in Malden, and we keep growing each year. The city of Malden and its recreation department treats us very well in the way of reserving us the use of various parks and fields around the city for our practices and games. However, due to our popularity and the large numbers of players who want to get in the field, we are always facing a shortage of field space. We compete with other Malden youth sports like soccer and also 3 high schools in Malden for field space as well. We need more space to address the needs of our players and their families, and we're asking you, the members of the Malden City Council, to support the Roosevelt Park Improvement Plan as it continues on its path to being completed. We owe it to the boys and girls of Malden and their parents, grandparents, and other family members who are so happy with what they can come to see their loved ones play lacrosse in their hometown. There are a lot of parks in Malden, but many do not provide space for players and teams to practice. The Roosevelt Park Plan would allow plenty of space and plenty of time for both organized youth sports as well as informal recreational time for families as well, at any time of the day. Please help Malden Youth Lacrosse and hundreds of other players and residents in our community by supporting this very important Roosevelt Park Improvement Plan. Sincerely, Tom Robertson, President of Malden Youth Lacrosse. Dear Malden Councilors, I'm writing today in support of the Roosevelt Park Improvement Project and asking all of you members to continue to support this important and much-needed project through its completion. I'm a lifelong resident of Malden, longtime youth sports and high school coach, and a father of some energetic and enthusiastic girls softball players. My players, teams, coaches, and my own daughters have benefited greatly by the excellent park and field facilities the city of Malden has provided us through the years. On behalf of the hundreds of young Malden residents of Papuana football and Malden girls softball league players I have coached through the years and their families, I thank you and the city councilors before you who have worked so hard to make these facilities available to Malden families. The Roosevelt Park Improvement Project put forth by the city will be another exciting addition to our park and field facilities, and one that is needed and very much needed. One of the primary beneficiaries will be Malden girls softball. Right now, due to the present conditions of Roosevelt Park, which is not able to be maintained for a number of reasons, there is just one usable softball field for Malden girls to use in the city. One, Callahan Field. This plan by the city to install an artificial turf surface and create 2 softball diamonds at Roosevelt Park is a home run for the young women of Malden who are part of one of the fastest growing youth sports programs in the city. New, safe, easy to maintain Roosevelt Park softball diamonds are a must for Malden. Please continue your support for the much needed and much appreciated project for the growing numbers of young women in Malden and their families. Thank you, Brian McDonough, One Lake Circle, Malden, Mass, Malden Girls Softball. To the Malden City Councilors, we are asking you to please support the Malden Roosevelt Park project. They need more funding, do some additions to the plan that came after they took care of some suggestions made by people at meetings held to explain the project. I have been coaching youth sports in Malden for many years and have been impressed by the hard work and dedication of our mayors and city councilors in building some great parks, which are used by sport players and teams as well as families, residents, just to get out and get some exercise. The Roosevelt Park project is another opportunity to create, add some great park space to our community, and Malden Youth Baseball officers and board of directors request the Malden City Council keep supporting this project to its completion. We need more field space and more great park for kids. Thank you for your support. Mike Hudson, Malden Youth Baseball. Dear Malden City Council, I support the new park for Roosevelt Park, and I'm asking that all council members to support the plan to remake the park and make it a showcase facility for all the youth in the city of Malden. I grew up in Malden and was a successful student athlete at Malden High School and then American International College in Springfield, Mass. My focus has been on football for many years, but growing up in the city, I played all the sports in all the parks and have many great memories. This year, I've been fortunate enough to have been hired as a history teacher at Malden High School, and I'm very excited to work with the over 1,700 young people at Malden High School, where I'm planning on coaching sports at my former school as well. I know this city, and I know what our young people need in its guidance, direction, and encouragement to take part in fitness and athletic activities, whether it is on a team or just working out, staying fit in shape on their own in recreational setting. The plan in place to put a new turf field at Roosevelt Park, while also adding baseball hoop and improvements to the top lot for the young children, is perfect for what our Malden children need. I have played with, trained with, and coached hundreds of young athletes who have all participated in athletics on primary artificial turf fields. This is the standard type field for essentially any addition of rehabilitations all across the nation. They are safe, efficient, and easy to maintain. Also, they get the most use since they don't have to be shut down when there's wet weather. For the youth of Malden and their families, please support this project to bring another great park to our city. Witchy Exam 25 Salem Place, Malden. Dear councilors, I'm ready to ask for your support in seeing the Roosevelt Park Improvement Project through to completion. I understand there'll be a request for more funding before you, and on behalf of the Malden Babe Ruth Baseball Program, we ask that you vote in favor of this request. Malden has some of the best parks in the area, but there is a dire need for more field space. We have many youth sports programs, and at this time, there's a lack of space to adequately provide room for teams to practice and play games. The fact there are 3 high schools in the city, all which use Malden municipal field space, further shows we need more space. The Roosevelt Park plan, which would create a fantastic new park in place of what is now our seldom used eyesore, is really needed badly for Malden families. I have attended several meetings regarding this park. Most of those in attendance were in favor of this new park plan and the installation of artificial turf surface material. Having overseen hundreds and hundreds of games and practices on several turf fields over the years, I can assure you that artificial surface is safe and easy to maintain and has never had a negative report from any participant or coach. Please continue to support this project, and this is something Malden families really need today. Sincerely, Dino Summers, Malden Babe Ruth Field Director. And finally, dear Malden City Council, I have lived in the neighborhood next to Roosevelt Park for many years, just one street over, and I have 2 stepkids that live in my house, and they are both involved with sports. They hardly ever go to Roosevelt Park right next to their own house because it is beat down when it rains, and when it rains, it is all mud and no one can use it at all. Then I heard recently about a new plan to put artificial turf on the field and also put a small basketball hoop down there, plus other improvements. I got really excited about this idea. Then I heard there was a small group of people against this plan with statements about the turf being not safe and bad for kids. To say things like this is just wrong and false. I go to all the games and all sports around Malden all year round, whether my own kids are playing or all their friends are. Most of these games are on the turf fields where they always get to play despite the weather and don't have to wait a bunch of time after it rains because it dries right up. I never saw or heard about any kids, boys or girls, young or older, getting hurt or sick because of turf or being bothered because it was too hot. Something else I heard was being said by some people. Both of the kids who live with me went to the same school, and if the field was done over like it would be in this plan, it would be great for all the students and safe too. I've asked people in my neighborhood about this plan. They all are in favor and happy about it. Please vote in favor of anything needed to make this new park happen. We've gone too long already. Malden kids need this new park. Plus, I am a union man, and it would create more jobs for workers. Thank you, Kojo Easton, 641 Cross Street, Malden.
Great, thank you. Next order of business.
Paper 28, you want to read both? 28520 Class 2 GP Motorcycle Supply, 420 Broadway, Malden, 4 motorcycles new, and 28620 Secondhand Dealer, AM Design Jewelry, 664 Salem Street, Malden, renewal.
Motion to refer to finance.
On
I'm sorry, motion to refer to license.
on Councilor Murphy's motion to refer these matters to license, the clerk will call the roll.
Anderson. Did I lose
Anderson,
Neil?
yes. Anderson, yes.
Kamel.
Kamel, yes.
Condon.
Condon, yes.
Crow.
Yes.
Di Maria. Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Linehan, yes.
Murphy.
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley.
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora.
Metaphor, yes.
Winslow.
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes.
Papers referred to license 11-0.
Petitions are referred. Next order of business.
Paper 277-20, resolve the Community Preservation Committee, Conservation Committee, and the mayor work to identify and secure maximum funding to purchase the acquisition of additional parkland, expansion of recreational facilities, addition of passive community green space expansion as a way to advance environmental and economic benefits toward a low carbon economy. Councilor Spatafora.
Councilor Spatafora.
Thank you, Madam President. This is just a resolve, and I know what made me think about this besides, what's going on, I think, in the world with environment, which is another paper, is also I had the opportunity, which I don't know if everybody has a copy, but I was bored in the COVID world, and I reread our open space and recreation plan. And I know when the CPC was being formed and the thought of passing that, one of the objectives was to have money to potentially borrow and bond to buy pieces of land. I talked to a couple members of the council, and I think the idea here is we are allowed to purchase property, and I think everybody realizes, based on all our citizens, that they want to see additional green space and adequate recreation facilities. My first thought to this is something that happened in Council Kamel's ward with the meals tax when they purchased High Rock to turn that into green space. There's been a couple other instances, this is really geared to, but can be a little larger in thought. Council Murphy had a piece of property in her ward that she sold, with the city sold to a homeowner, and that kind of had some repercussions, I think, to the neighborhood. And Councilor Murphy was certainly against what happened there. And there's been some other instances in the city where there's these small fragments of property that cannot be built on based on our current ordinances. So we've seen a couple of these come up before the Planning Board or the Board of Appeals. And to be quite honest with you, I think it's time for us to look at, as a city, to taking some of the funding to purchase these pieces of property, turn them into green space or conservation land, so nothing can be built on them. And they basically increase our green space. And like I said, also can turn in conservation land, so nothing can be developed on that. There are literally, if you look at the tax rolls, there's probably about 50 or 60 of these small, odd size spaces. And there's some other opportunities with this. So this is just a resolve. And again, it's a funding mechanism that the CPC can use. And I spoke to the mayor's office. One thing I didn't include in this, and I probably should have, is had the city assessor look at some of the pieces of property to identify for both Conservation Committee, the mayor's office, and probably the public properties. That's all I had.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. Councilor Winslow, you have your hand up.
Yeah, no, I just want to, I'm certainly very supportive of this. I know, having been a member of the 2017 Open Space and Recreation Planning Committee with Councilor Murphy and others, and I know Councilor O'Malley has raised the issue about parcels, and working with Councilor Kamel on, there's quite a few remaining parcels in Ward 6 that are really undevelopable, that even are in control of the assessors, but they're not dedicated as open space. So I think it is, it's all great on how to do this, and very supportive of it. Now we really have to figure out how to move forward on some of the low-hanging fruit, like property we already own.
Yep.
That we can dedicate, and then also to see are those little pieces that we can pick up, and I guess we just got to figure out some of that. But it is great to just make sure we have that going forward. And then ultimately, I know there's always been an interest in people past the CPA in Malden to really look at the hospital site. So making sure that we have money for both small and large purchases. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Madam President. Did I unmute myself? No, I'm definitely in support of this paper. As Councilor Winslow said, this is, during the open space planning effort that we went through in 2017, this is certainly a topic that has come up. And I think that, there are, as Councilor Winslow just mentioned, some city-owned parcels. I know I have one on Goodwin Street that is a sliver. But, it would be a nice passive piece to be able to have some funds to be able to put in some seating, pull out the tree trunks, put some grass and some seating so people could actually, just go sit outside if they wanted to, and watch the cars go by. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do with these small parcels to, promote tree growth, but also to promote some passive passive recreation. So I'm fully supportive of this.
Thank you. Councilor Kamel.
Yeah, I do support this. As has been mentioned a few times, they're up in the Highlands here. We have a couple of spots that come immediately to mind that might be rocky or undersized, and there are these repeated attempts for one owner to own it, try to develop on it, get shot down a few times. And then you see that out there on the market to be sold to somebody. And often I'll see the listing for it, and I'll see these renderings of a project that had just been absolutely denied and shut down. And you can build this. And so it borders on fraud, honestly. And it would be good to see some of these, us have funds to take these and cement them as, not cement them, that's better. Save them, protect them as green space. And thanks, Councilor Winslow, again, for mentioning. We do also have, simultaneously, we do have some parcels that are owned that we brought through the Public Property Committee and are waiting on some deed restrictions there from our own legal department, and we should get an update on that. It's a good reminder. So thank you, Councilor Spadafora, for your boredom during this COVID situation to bring this forward. So I'll support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Madam President. I also want to thank Councilor Spadafora for proposing a resolve that's focused on increasing our green space, which we all know is so critical to mitigating the effects of climate change. And I do agree with a lot of what's been said so far. I can see a lot of potential for this across the city. My only suggestion was going to be to entertain a friendly amendment to replace just at the end the words low carbon economy and instead say something more along the lines of carbon neutral economy or net zero economy, just to be more specific and measurable and bring us in alignment with what the state climate resilience goals are that we as a city has already signed on to. So I just think it's a small wording change, but given that the feds are rolling back a lot of regulations that would reduce our GHG emissions, I think it says a lot that we're explicitly saying that, we're not going to add carbon to the atmosphere or we won't meet the climate goals that I'm reading are at the heart of this and our open space plan. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm glad to support this and want to applaud the sponsor, Councilor Spadafora, for putting this resolve on the docket. Yes, I think it's apple pie and motherhood. We need to be able to retain all the green space that we can. Over the years, Malden has come up with a number of smaller areas, particularly during the redevelopment time when streets were redrawn and you ended up having little slivers of land that used to be streets and were no longer that way and were usually parceled off to the abutters. I think it makes sense for us to retain as much of that as we can. Look at some of these larger open spaces and retain that for all the reasons that my colleagues have mentioned ahead of time. So by all means, thank you, Councilor Spatafora, for bringing this up, and count me in as a supporter. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Madam President. I certainly would support this. I think the first thing we have to do, though, is identify those slivers. I know I have a very few down here in Ward 2, but if they could be identified, they certainly could be put to use that way. But also, when we design these parks that we're working on through the CPC, I know right now we're in the process of designing Deva Park, and the committee unanimously felt that not every inch of the park had to be used for organized sports. We emphasized that we wanted passive recreational parts of the park, add trees, add benches, because the park's so big. There's so much space that is underutilized. You have to take advantage of the space that can be used in that way. And people will appreciate it, especially some of the older people, like myself and two others on this council. But we won't go into any names, though. But I certainly would support it. And but I think we have to think in terms of that when as we're getting these parks done, think of preserving some of this parkland for that exactly the passive and recreational areas. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm in support of this resolve in concept. One of the challenges that I have with it is trying to make sure there's no unintended consequences here. I don't exactly know all the history around High Rock, for instance, but I think it's do we used to own that prior to it being privately owned? Like, wasn't it a circumstance where we used to own it and then we sold it and then we bought it back?
Yes.
And so, like, one of the things that I would like to avoid is an unintended consequence where we are potentially buying property from people who own small slivers, who are maybe threatening the neighborhood with development so that they can sell it back to the city for, a prime price. And I think that there's a defined process through this. I don't know if it involves eminent domain, where we do a fair evaluation of the value of the property with the assessor. I know, Councilor Winslow, you were involved in River's Edge and the eminent domain and the combining of those parcels. I just think it's really important that we be careful with how we are spending public tax dollars like this. Personally, what I would like to see is we don't allow new roads to go in. So I know we've seen this in some circumstances where properties are not possible to be developed unless we allow a new road to be put in. And I'm wondering if there are ways that we can prevent the unintended consequences of development of these sliver parcels by flexing a different muscle. But I appreciate you putting this forward to think about. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kamel, did you have your hand up? Did you? Okay. All right. Okay. So no other questions, comments. Did anybody second Councilor Linehan's amendment? You, Councilor Kamel. Okay. So on Councilor Linehan's amendment, can you repeat the language for the clerk, please?
Sure. So I'd like to propose a friendly amendment to replace the words low carbon economy, just the last three words of the resolve, and instead say carbon neutral economy.
Second.
Okay. Clerk, you have that?
I do.
Okay. So on Councilor Linehan's amendment, seconded by Councilor Kamel, the clerk will call the roll.
Can I make an amendment too? I apologize.
You want to do it right after this?
Yeah, we can do that. That's fine.
Okay.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamel,
Oh, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow,
Yes.
DeMaria,
yes,
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora,
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes.
Carries 11-0.
Great, thank you. Councilor Spatafora, what would you like to amend?
I just want to add the city, I forgot, I said it in my speech, but I want to add to work with the city assessor too. Because in order to identify the properties, we'd have to work with the city assessor. And I should have put that in there, and I apologize. I should have had that initially. So that will be my takeaway. I'll work with the city assessor.
yeah, great. Second,
Okay. Councilor Spatafora's motion to amend, seconded by Councilor DeMaria. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamel,
Kamel, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow,
Yes.
DeMaria,
yes,
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora,
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes.
Passes 11-0.
So, Councilor Spatafora, you make a motion to pass as amended?
Yes.
Second. Anybody want a second?
A second.
Okay, on Councilor Spatafora's motion to pass as amended, seconded by Councilor Crowe, the clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamel,
Kamel, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow,
Yes.
DeMaria,
yes,
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, present.
present. Spatafora,
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes.
Motion carries.
The resolve has passed. Next order of business.
Paper 278-20 resolved that the city of Malden formally recognizes the challenge of climate change and develop and implement a climate action plan and climate adaptation plan, setting the goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 50% from 2020 to 2050. Climate assessments and goal of the city of Malden that all electricity consumed in the city will come from renewable energy sources by the year 2040. And that 100% of all thermal energy and energy used for transportation come from renewable energy sources by the year 2050. The goal will apply to the entire Malden community, not just municipal government operations. Council Spatafora and then Council Winslow asked to be a co-sponsor.
Yeah, and I would if anybody wants to be a co-sponsor, that's fine. I would just say this: you could tell what happens when Council Spatafora has a couple glasses of wine over the weekend. He starts digging through all his documents. But in all seriousness, I think as I get a little bit older, my kids are getting older. You turn on the TV, and it's hard to not see that something is awry with the planet. And I know the city's done. I've been a councilor for a little time here, and I know Mayor Christensen started the Energy Efficiency Committee, which I will be completely honest with you, I didn't think would be able to do much, but it's shown great resilience, and we're starting to get grants, and Council Kamel has that. We passed the stretch code, so there's a lot of things. Honeywell's doing on that. But again, we have rising temperatures. There's chunks of ice falling off. 300 elephants died, they think, because of a plague. Public health is certainly a crisis there. And there's pros to being this way. It's energy efficiency. We can save money. We can create jobs. They say, the renewable energy could be the fastest growing job segment. We can compete internationally with being energy independent. So there's a lot of good things, not just the things to do with the plant and the health of everybody. But to be quite honest with you, I look, and my oldest is 13, and I don't know what this planet will look like in 13 years. So whatever action we can take, I think the city could do it. And I applaud the city. We've done a lot. We have Honeywell LED lights, but I think we have to go a little further. Councilor Winslow will probably speak about maybe increasing some of those numbers. I will be honest with you, I did some research. I don't know what a good number was, but I wanted something substantial. we could certainly go more. But I also recognize I didn't know what the math was with Honeywell doing all the retrofit, and I didn't want to make it too easy, but I also didn't want to make it unattainable. So I will certainly applaud or entertain anybody's help. I know Council Winslow's probably going to chime in, but again, this is just something that we should be doing and thinking no matter what we're doing. And I think it's important that the city start the process now. That's all I have, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow.
Yes, I know. I'm just looking at actually at the state climate action goal. Is this is just signed by the Secretary of Environmental Affairs, April 22nd. The state goal is an 85% reduction by 2050 from the 1990 levels, and so that's. I spoke to Craig. I thought 50% is actually low. So I point out myself. It just so happened I was going through some old paperwork. And I saw how much oil we were using when we first bought our house in 1990. And then I looked at, we had put in hot water, solar hot water over the years and a new gas heating system. And I was able to do some calculations on with some tools online. We have in our house reduced our greenhouse emissions 75% by replacing our oil burner, our old and inefficient oil burner, and going with solar hot water. So this is something very achievable. If we work together and as people replace, units in their houses with the most efficient things out there, this is something that can be achieved in their programs out there. We took advantage of a zero interest loan program and big tax credits. So these are programs that are out there. And, like I say, we both as a city, we should get moving on this, as well as making this a goal for the whole community. To get beyond 75%, there may be some more ambitious things we will have to tackle, but we'll have to work with our state delegation to really look at those things. I think the challenge in New England is always heat in the winter and ultimately cooling this summer. There's more technology, home geothermal, which if you're building a new development, it makes a lot of sense. It's harder to retrofit it, but that might be something we might ultimately have to tackle as we phase out gas, and we might have to substitute that. But I think I would propose that we go with the 85% over the 1990 level, which is the state goal. So that would be my proposed amendment, that we as a whole community work for that. And I'm supportive of the other the net zero, the citywide. So thank you.
I would second that, Councilor Winslow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kamel.
Excellent. Councilor Spatafora and Councilor Winslow, thank you. I also, if it would be okay, would like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Anybody happy to? Yep.
Yep. Sorry, he's going to be added as a co-sponsor too. Yeah. So also, and thank you for bringing up the Energy Efficiency Commission. We, we did a lot of work at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, calendar year, looking into ideas like electric aggregation, municipal electric aggregation, which I think would fit into the spirit of this quite well. Of course, 2020 has been a very interesting year. Sort of knocked us off of our of that, and we haven't met for some time. But we were just talking today. We're going to be starting the meeting up in October and getting the conversation going again with the mayor on that, and hope to have something in front of the council sometime soon. So that fits right in with this, and I applaud Council Spatafora's very earthy, crunchy weekend.
It was the wine. It was the wine.
No, but it's good to start to see. I mean, to see people really recognize what's happening.
Yep.
It doesn't take much to see. There's some pretty extreme and new weather events that are happening that make this pretty clear what's happening. So let's do a little part here in Malden. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Madam President. I also wanted to thank Councilor Spatafora again for this resolve, and just generally efforts to fast track, climate action and adaptation planning. It's definitely something that I think is a good time for us to be working on. And if possible, I'd like to be a co-sponsor as well. I share his concern for our children's future. I find that motivates almost everything I do. And I think that as a city, there's a lot that we can do to let folks know about incentives and programs that are already out there for things like solar and mini split heat systems, and just other things that maybe we could, help get the word out where programs already exist. So I had actually planned to also offer an amendment. I appreciate the 85%, but I was actually going to propose that we would try to reduce GHG emissions by 100%, and that we do so by 2040, not 2050. I think that would bring us in alignment with what the state is on track to do. But also I think the 85% is very achievable. I think we should strive for higher if we can. And I know that's something that we've already signed on to as a city, again, to be in alignment with the state. So again, applaud the effort. Really think this hits on all the major sectors that we need to address with global warming solutions, from our buildings to our transportation network and electricity generation, and that it doesn't leave, that wiggle room to expand the natural gas network, which I think is really important. So thank you again. I put that alternate proposal on the floor, but I think the 85% would be great too, but I do think 100% is also achievable. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I also appreciate the fact that this is put on the docket. It sounds like there's a lot of different numbers that we're throwing out here, and I was just doing my own research. Back in 2018, I traveled down to Atlanta and participated in what is called the Climate Reality Project. That's basically the nonprofit spinoff founded by Al Gore, kind of coming out of the Inconvenient Truth movie and his whole movement to kind of make this a household known issue. And I was just looking at what their goal is. Would there be any interest in, I don't know, maybe referring this to the Energy Efficiency Committee to kind of digest what really the goal should be? Because I feel like right now we're just throwing things out there. And it might be something that we really want to digest and come out saying this has been endorsed by our Energy Efficiency Committee and is endorsed also by the City Council. Just throwing it out there. I'm not going to make a big deal about it, but I do appreciate it. And I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor also.
Great. Thank you. Councilor Crowe.
Thank you. I'm in full support, and if it's the will of the councils to move to energy efficiency, I think that is kind of a great plan. Is it 85? Is it 100%? And what other things we can be thinking about? I really appreciate this in the paper before, because we really do need to be a little more forward thinking in how we're gonna stop, turn back, do more things with open space, green space. Carbon neutral economy and all of those things. So I really do think that this is sort of some forward thinking that needed to happen. So I am in total support. And if it's best to go to the energy efficiency, who can maybe tighten up the language a little bit if that's what we need, and I'm in favor of that as well. But thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, I mean, I think actually that's maybe a good idea, Councilor O'Malley. I mean, having actually, worked with regulators, I was involved in the process to take the lead out of gasoline. And, we were working actually with the first Jerry Brown administration out in California, as well as the Reagan administration. And, it was very clear we needed to take lead out of the gasoline as quickly as possible. But we did take a first step. So, we went, we reduced it very quickly, but we knew within a few years it would go to zero. So I don't always like incrementalism, but I also like realistic goals. So, so that's the type of thing. I think it might be good to get that feedback from the committee that we've set up to really look at this. We might even actually want to reformat the committee to be our climate action committee. That might be something we want to think about, but it is, I like to be a man of action rather than just something on a piece of paper. So, I feel like 85% is something that I've nearly achieved myself through some very practical things. I don't know where that other 25 or percent comes from right now. And being a chemical engineer and being involved in energy is something I think about a lot. But I think that's, those are the people in the community that we're looking for leadership here. So getting a little feedback from them, I think that's a good thing. And, I'm all for what goal, but, let's take a little time and think and get their feedback. And I'm all in whatever way. Well, I can get it done. So, like I say, there's, it's a challenge to make a fundamental shift in what moves our economy. And that's the goal. That's why this has been so hard. I mean, when I was a student at Cal Berkeley in chemical engineering, this is when I first heard from my professors about global warming. That was 40 years ago. So we've been thinking about this a long time, and we got to make more progress. So I'm supportive of that. Let's get a number out there and without delay, and let's go on an action plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor DiMaria.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I also would like to be added to the resolve. Kudos to the sponsor. I think it's great to set the bar high. It's something that the City Council's really talked about for many years when we were building the police station and the City Hall. We all, had something to say about this. So I think that in order to accomplish what we all seem to want to do so far, that a goal is great. And I do think the best avenue to do that would be to send it to energy efficiency, as that's their mission. So I would second Councilor O'Malley's amendment. Thank you.
Councilor Kamel.
Yeah, as the member of the Energy Efficiency Commission, I support that. I absolutely know that the other members would be very enthusiastic to help flesh out the details. I'm also a little conflicted because it'd be great to just act on it tonight and have this as a resolve, but I think we all know where we're going. I think we clearly all agree on this. I want to make sure we do have, as Council Winslow said, an achievable goal. It's great to, shoot for the stars, but you want to make sure you put in a knowingly achievable goal so we can get there. Yep. So I will support bringing it to the EEC. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilors, this is a resolve.
Correct.
I believe that
We can't refer
our
it.
talking about what percentage goal that we're dickering with here seems to be the place to work that out, maybe in that Energy Efficiency Committee. But there's no reason why we just can't pass the resolve and send the resolve on to the Efficiency Committee to do the diligence and work out that additional or that proper number for that. So I think we ought to pass this evening and then refer it on to the Energy Efficiency Committee for further study. So I'm all for it. I'd like to as well be a co-sponsor to this resolve. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Councilor DiMaria, do you have your hand up still? Did I not clear you? Okay, my apologies. Councilor Murphy, you haven't spoke on this yet.
There we go. Trying to unmute myself. Yes. Yes, Councilor Spatafora, great resolve. I agree with 100% with Councilor Anderson. I think that we should pass this tonight and then refer it on to the Energy Efficiency Committee for their feedback. We can always amend it based on their input, but at the moment, I think that this is something that we should just pass, move along, and continue on with our docket. Councilor Spatafora, I too would like to be added as a co-sponsor. I think at the end, you're probably going to have all of us on there. But I thank you once again for bringing this forward to our attention. With a 3-year-old granddaughter, who I've had the pleasure of having company with for the last 6 days, I too am concerned about the world that she is going to grow up in. So I think this was, it was a perfect time for you to bring this forward to all of us. So I know we do have a motion on the table that's been seconded, but I would second Councillor Anderson's motion that we just passed this evening.
Thank you. Councilor Linehan?
I was going to just offer to withdraw my amendment. In looking through, I think there's a lot of numbers we could continue tinkering with, and it's not productive. So I'll just take that off the floor.
Great. Thank you. Councilor Spatafora?
I was just going to say what a Councilor Anderson, which not that I'm against sending the Energy Efficiency, it's a resolve, so I don't think we could send it to the Energy Efficiency Committee because it wasn't properly on the docket. It's just a resolve. So I think to Councilor Anderson's point, if the council wants to pass it, we pass the resolve, and then we can send it to the Energy Efficiency. I don't know if we have to do it I would ask Ken, but I don't think we can send it there without passing the resolve, and then maybe next week forward it to the Energy Efficiency Committee or something like. I just think there's a mechanism we have to do. Either way, I'm happy either way. That's all I had.
Great. Thank you. Councilor Kamel, you good?
No, so I was going to say is we could always, and thank you, Councilor Anderson, for sort of articulating my hesitations there. So we could always pass this resolve as is, and then we could sort of move a separate request for more detailed report from the EPC, which we'll be absolutely glad to. You want numbers? They'll give you numbers. So
great. Thank you. City Clerk, could you please add me as a co-sponsor to the?
Sure. Did I miss anyone? Who doesn't want to be a sponsor?
Just add everybody.
Well, we'll just probably add everybody, right?
Everyone's good with that?
Right.
Okay, so Councilor Spatafora's motion to pass this resolve, seconded by
Anderson.
Councilor Anderson. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson.
Anderson, yes.
Kamel.
Yes.
Condon.
Condon, yes.
Crow.
Yes.
Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Linehan, yes.
Murphy.
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley.
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow.
Winslow, yes.
Seeker.
Seeker, yes.
Carries 11-0.
The resolve passes. Next order of business.
Do we want to refer to the Energy Efficiency Committee?
We don't need to vote on that, do we?
I can send the reserve. I can send the resolve to the
Resolve to the
energy.
energy. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I mean, just make a note in the minutes that we asked. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, next order of business.
Paper 279-20 order be it hereby ordained that section 2.20.030, 2.20.0.040, 2.20.0.50, and 2.20.0.60 of chapter 2 of the revised ordinance of 2020 be amended relative to the officers, specialist clerks, and unclassified employee salary schedules in the sum of $204,161.05 be transferred from salary reserve account 0010-996-510 to the following accounts. And read all these accounts. Assessor salaries, $8,894.07. Cemetery salaries, $3,807.90. City clerk salaries, $8,133.04. Controller salaries, $9,239.45. Engineering salaries, $7,403.86. Fire salaries, $6,442.22. Board of Health salaries, $13,094.02. Human Resources, $7,195.12. Inspectional Services, $17,211.48. Information Technology salaries, $10,618.96. Legal salaries, $6,838.88. Legislative salaries, $7,695.50. Library salaries, $6,031.88. Mayor's salaries, $10,097.95. Parking salaries, $5,699.75. Police salaries, $14,294.75. Facility salaries, $22,771.10. Public Works salaries, $7,808.42. Recreational salaries, $3,909.81. Senior center salaries, $4,987.29. Teen center salaries, $3,428.48. Traffic salaries, $1,341.63. Treasurer's salaries, $14,395.04. Veteran salaries, $2,820.45.
Councilor Camille?
Oh, I was going to defer to Council Spatafora if he wanted to speak to it first, but I also wanted to follow up.
Sure thing. Councilor
Whatever.
Spatafora?
No,
I can talk to it.
Council Kamel go first. I can go after. Go ahead, Council. You get the floor.
Yeah, so this obviously has components that need to be it needs to be referred to the ordinance because we need to change the ordinance, but there's also a financial transfer from one account to the other. So we're going to have it in finance. And I was just looking on the legislature. I can't remember how we did it last year, whether it went to one committee and then we had to go from ordinance to finance. But I'll defer to either the clerk or.
We went to both. Last year, we did it in both.
Yeah.
Just did a joint, right?
Yep.
Yes.
We
Correct.
do a joint. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Council Spatafora, let's just plan a joint session to
Yep.
get that.
Yep. That's what I was going to speak to.
Yeah, and I won't want to be too redundant here, but this is associated with the 2.5% cost of living, and it's these funds were in the salary reserve and planned to be moved over. So defer to Councilor Spatafora for more detail on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just to play off Council Kamel. So it's usually a joint planning and ordinance. Joint finance and ordinance. Finance does the financial impact and the analysis, and then ordinance is there. And once the financial package is approved, then the ordinances have to be updated to reflect those changes. Standard with any of our contracts, if there's a 2.5% increase, we change the language inside our ordinances to reflect those pay scales. Again, pretty standard operating procedure. We do it with every pay grade in the city. And so just on Council Kamel's motion to refer to joint ordinance and finance.
You second that?
I do second that, yes.
Okay. Councilor Kamel's motion, seconded by Councilor Spatafora to refer this matter to joint finance and ordinance. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamel,
Yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow,
Yes.
DiMaria,
Yes.
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora,
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes.
Carries 11-0.
Referred, next order of business.
Paper 280-20, be it hereby ordained that the revised ordinance of 2020, Chapter 11, be amended to add Section 11.08.155, maintenance of private fencing next to public property, containing provisions related to fencing adjoining streets, sidewalks, and trails by adding the following language. A, every owner of property adjoining any public or private street, alley, sidewalk, trail, or other public land shall ensure any fencing along the perimeter of the property remains erect and that any barbed or raised wire remains strung at least 7 feet above ground level. No such owner shall allow any perimeter fence, barbed or razor wire to encroach on or above any public street, private street, alley, sidewalk, trail, or any other public land or otherwise pose a hazard to members of the public lawfully using such areas. B, as of January 1st, 2020, raised wire may not be installed or replaced on any fence in the city of Malden. C, the ordinance may be enforced in the manner provided in Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, 21D by city code enforcement officers, agents of the Inspectional Service Department or Department of Public Works. Supervisory personnel penalties for violations of this ordinance will be strictly enforced and are as follows. Number one, first offenses shall be written 30-day warning. 2, second offense, $100 for each continuing day of violation. D, the city may remove the fencing and wiring if 1, such fencing and wiring has caused an injury to a member of the public present or public property, or 2, if the property owner fails to comply within 3 days after notice of the second offense. The city may seek reimbursement for the cost of removal of the fencing and wiring in violation of ordinance from the property owner. Council Winslow and Murphy.
Councilor Winslow?
Yeah, this is, I know Councilor Sika introduced a paper a couple weeks back related to people, doing, cleaning up the weeds and stuff on their sidewalk. And I mentioned about the need for something related to barbed wire, and we amended that paper. I know City Clerk Lucy had some feedback that we really needed to plug these things into the new Municode system. And he also pointed out that I had filed a barbed wire paper last session that had died. So what we decided to do is I took a chance. I took a shot at updating the my paper from last session to the new Municode section, and then I also strengthened it to sort of fit into the enforcement mechanisms we have in the code already. So one of the things about fencing is that it's not technically part of the building code. It might be part of some planning and determinations, but it's not technically in the building code. So, and you look in our ordinances, there really isn't something to deal with fencing that's not being well maintained. And so we see this a lot on the bicycle trail. As we mentioned, that there's barbed wire that's come off, that's railings and stuff like that. And I mean, it was even walking down by Salem Wood School, and there was someone whose fencing had, big board was knocked over above the sidewalk. So this is just something that we will be on the books. I generally expect this to be something that if there's an issue, a code enforcement officer could kind of knock on the business's door and just politely ask them to, hey, your fence is a problem. And then, if after 30 days they're not correcting it, then we have some enforcement mechanism for it. So, but that's the basic idea, that we do have some mechanisms to, enforce this as fences are leaning over, getting damaged, and that type of thing. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I'm in full support of this. As you can see, I'm a sponsor on it, and excuse the playing, and that's my dog drinking his water. We're having dog issues today, I guess. But the bike path is really where we see most of the barbed wire. Not to say that it doesn't exist in other places. There is some also on Franklin Street in Ward 5, and it is definitely a hazard. A lot of it is placed low enough where someone going by could put their hand up and touch it. So I think that this is a great paper. Looking forward to discussing it in ordinance.
Great, thank you. Any other? Councilor O'Malley?
I just want to say I loved that so much, and I appreciate.
Want to say what?
I just want to say I love that noise so much. It
sounds like. Sorry about that.
No, it's so cute. It really sounds like he's ringing a bell.
Yeah, he just came in from outside.
I'm in full support of this. Also, I wouldn't mind being added as a co-sponsor. One of the questions I had was the line between replacement and repairing, because I saw that it said that you cannot replace it as of January of this year, but it also requires that they repair it if there's something wrong. So I think figuring out where the line is between replacement and repair may be important. But I'm fully in support of this, and I appreciate you both putting it on the docket.
Great, thank you. Councilor Winslow, you have a motion?
Yeah, motion to refer to rules and ordinance. Thank you.
Seconded by Councilor Murphy?
Yes.
Okay. On Councilor Winslow's motion, seconded by Councilor Murphy, to refer this matter to ordinance, the clerk will call the roll.
Anderson.
Anderson, yes.
Kamel.
Kamel, yes.
Condon.
Condon, yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
DiMaria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Linehan, yes.
Murphy.
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley.
O'Malley, yes.
Better for yes.
Winslow.
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes. Matter is
Motion
referred. Next order of business.
Paper 281-20, order that the Malden Redevelopment Authority apply to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for $1,200,000 Section 108 loan to renovate Roosevelt Park, 529 Salem Street, a public property in the city of Malden.
Councilor Kamel for the paper.
Yep. So this is coming over from the mayor. I'm on here as the chair of finance. Don't want to take credit for this, though. All credit goes to Councilors Winslow and Murphy for their work on this, and would be referring this to finance. Again, just for some background, we had obviously taken up the project previously. This is an additional funding for to close the gap after the realities of the project and what needs to be accomplished at the site came into view. So I move to refer to the Finance Committee.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I will second that. Oh,
Councilor Kamel's motion to refer to finance, seconded by Councilor Condon. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamel,
Kamel, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Grow,
Yes.
Maria,
No.
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora,
Metaphor, yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes.
Carries 10-1.
Paper has been referred. Next order of business.
Councilor Sika, is there any time for comment?
Go ahead, Councilor DiMaria.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If I may, just take a minute and quote the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. One lives not for oneself, but for one's community, certainly not for personal recognition. For those that are not familiar with a Section 108 loan, which is being proposed to borrow from this evening, it is a community development block grant pocket of money from HUD, Housing and Urban Development. CDBG funds may be used for community development activities such as real estate acquisition, relocation, demolition, rehabilitation of housing and commercial buildings, construction of public facilities and improvements such as water, sewer, and other utilities, street paving, and sidewalks, or in other words, our infrastructure. This money is specifically meant to improve the quality of life for families and community members, such as the neighborhood served by the Salem Woods School. Do you feel like a turf, pardon me, hold on. Do you feel like a turf field will improve your quality of life? Then why is the field not primarily designed for the students and families of Salem Woods School? CDBG money can also be used to improve our roads, sidewalks, and infrastructure. I ask you, do you think our roads are in good shape? It will also divert money away from our nonprofits who depend on these funds, such as Housing Families, Bread of Life, Neighborhood Basketball, Mystic Valley Elder Services, Malden Elderly Transportation, and YWCA. Is that the right course of action for our community? We are at the cusp of a housing crisis.
Councilor DiMaria, you probably should have brought this up before we voted. The matter is
Councilor, I'd like to finish my comment. I have the floor.
but you are out of order here, Councilor DiMaria. You should have spoken about this before we took the vote to refer this matter to finance. You can take this up in finance. Next order of business, clerk.
Paper 259-20, order be it hereby ordained that the revised ordinance of 2020 be amended to allow accessory dwelling units AK in-law suites or granny flats.
Madam President, if I could speak, and I certainly don't want to stifle Council Lynn if she wants to speak again. This was probably some cobwebs from being off in the summertime. The next, I think, 3 papers, and we just pull the agenda up, but all these papers look familiar because they were. I inadvertently or mistakenly, we didn't refer them to ordinance in planning. They were only sent to ordinance, and I don't know, and I've tried to figure this out. I've asked a few people, but I don't think we can send it to planning without being referred from the full council, not the committee. So what the ask is, they are sitting in ordinance, all these papers. The ask now is to send to planning or joint planning and ordinance so we can schedule those meetings appropriately. So again, I apologize for the mishap 2 weeks ago. That's why they're back on the docket. So all the papers that the clerk will read that were submitted 2 weeks ago are the same and are sitting in ordinance. Now the ask is to send them to a joint planning and ordinance. Any questions, happy to answer. Apologies on my behalf.
Does anybody care if we take all of these up together? We vote on them all at once? Just to get through them a little bit faster?
That's fine with me.
Okay, City Clerk, you want to read the others and we'll add them to this vote?
Okay, so the other is 261-20, be it hereby ordained that the following proposed ordinance amendments be enrolled and ordained by the City Council, Section 12.12.0330, be it ordained that table of use regulations, Section 12.12.030 of the revised ordinance of 2020 be amended by establishing a new use category for short-term rentals, Section 12.32.060, be it ordained that Section 12.32.060 of the revised ordinances 2020 be amended by adding the definition for short-term rental. Be it ordained that Section 12.32.060 of the revised ordinances of 2020 be amended by changing the definition of family. Be it ordained that Section 12.32.060 of the revised ordinances of 2020 be amended by changing the definition of rooming house.
On Councilor Spatafora's Councilor O'Malley, you have your hand up?
Yeah, sorry, I apologize. I'm confused. What changed between last week and this week or the week before?
We only sent them the ordinance. We
We
didn't
only sent them to ordinance.
to joint planning and ordinance.
They have to go to planning too. And so they're sitting in ordinance. So the ordinance committee can't send them to planning. The only people who can send them to planning is the full council. So the ask now is to send them to the joint planning and ordinance.
If I remember correctly, usually what we would do is we would send them to ordinance to be discussed by the ordinance committee, workshopped, amended, and then we'd send them back out to the floor and then we'd refer them. That's
completely wrong, Councilor.
I would ask, well, I just think it's the process that it depends how the council, it's really up to the sponsor. I mean, I'd ask Councilor Linehan as whether or not you think your paper is ready to send to planning board, or if you think it makes more sense to.
No, Councilor O'Malley, I'm not asking to send to planning now. I'm saying there's a mechanism now. We don't have to send it back to the full council to send to planning. We do this every time. It gets referred. If there's enough details, it goes to ordinance. And every time you've had papers referred to planning, and it goes before the planning board at a joint meeting. Recommendations are made by the planning board. They are not binding. They come back to the full council for the vote or any changes. But we've never sent the paper from ordinance back to the full council only to send it to planning. It's never happened since I've been here.
If I could just, I wasn't looking for a back and forth. If I could just keep the floor, with particularly with Councilor Linehan's paper, there is a need to workshop that in ordinance from my perspective, and I would not be in favor of sending that to a planning board hearing because we don't have enough detail. For instance, the way that yours has, specific sections that are referenced, we haven't got to that point for Councilor Linehan's. So I think it would be a waste of our time in the planning board to have a hearing before we're ready for that. So I would defer to Councilor Linehan. It probably would be good for you to speak up about what you think should happen with your paper.
May I, Chairman? So Councilor O'Malley, I appreciate the legal advice, but here's the point. It has to go to planning at one point. I'm not advocating I'm sending it to planning. I'm creating the mechanism from the full council. It's in ordinance now. if Council Linehan has an ordinance meeting and decides to fix the paper or create a paper, there's no way to get it to planning without coming back to the full council. I've never seen that happen. So all I'm saying is all these papers have now been referred to ordinance a second time technically and planning. If Council Linehan doesn't want to go to planning for 2 months, that's fine. That's up to her. We don't have to come back to the full council to go to planning. I'm just trying to make it a more efficient process. I'm not referring it to planning next month. I'm not doing, there's nothing, I can't get it to planning without going to the full council. I'm trying to make it faster. You want to go to ordinance, come back to the full council to refer to planning. I'm sending it to both now. It doesn't have to go to planning for 2 months.
Not ready, Counselor. We haven't worked on it yet.
Councilor O'Malley, we're going to work on it in ordinance, and then it's going to go for a joint planning and ordinance meeting. It's not going to go to planning and ordinance until you discuss it in ordinance first. It just doesn't have to come back out.
But we're referring a paper that we don't know yet. How can we refer a paper that we haven't made yet? We're not done making it.
Well, let's put it this way: if Council Linehan doesn't want to send her paper to planning, that's fine. It's got to come. Then it's got to come back to the full. It's got to go back on the docket, and then it's got to get referred in whatever case that might be. That's fine. I'm only just trying to make it. I've never seen this done. I've been a councilor a long time. And there's no time limit to going to planning. So I've never seen this done. If Council Linehan doesn't want to do it, so be it. But it's got to come back to plan. It's got to get back to the full council. This is not something. We send it to
Councilor
plan.
Spatafora, let's listen to Councilor Linehan, okay? Councilor Linehan, go ahead.
Ridiculous.
Thank you, Madam President. So I want to actually thank Councilor O'Malley for the concern, because in first reading, that was sort of my reaction too, that this was a little bit different than the other papers that we're trying to take the both steps on. My fear is that it would have been seen as disrespectful that there's no paper to read yet, and that we're trying to then leapfrog ahead when there's nothing to even workshop yet. And that's obviously the last thing that I want. In talking to Clerk Lucian and talking to Councilor Spatafora about what has happened in the past and what is possible from here forward, I'm confident that what I'd like to see happen, which is for me to bring a proposal to ordinance for workshopping, and then for us to have the ability to take it from there to the hearing stage, that's sufficient for me. I obviously don't have the historical knowledge of what's been done in the past. I can research that from the public standpoint of not having been on the council at the time, but I'm trusting in the process as it's just been described by Councilor Spatafora, that we can have a proposal, take it to ordinance, workshop it, build some consensus, and then if we choose to bring it to planning at that point, that's how we would move forward. And I'm okay with that.
Great, thank you. So on Councilor Spatafora's motion, I forget who seconded that. What?
Second.
Okay, Councilor Kamal, the clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamal,
Well, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Di Maria,
Yes.
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, no.
Spatafora.
Sorry. Spatafora, yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika,
Sika, yes.
carries 10-1.
Papers have been referred. Next order of business.
Paper 282-20, Mayor's update on the UniteMalden 2020 initiative. Dear members of Malden City Council, dear members of the City Council, as you know, in our UniteMalden 2020 initiative, we announced several important goals, one of which is to establish a diversity officer position. This position will play a critical role by increasing the focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion, both inside our organization and across the city. The responsibilities of the position will include, but not limited to, working collaboratively with other cities to identify best practices and documented procedures and goals related to diversity and inclusion in Malden, participating in all hiring panels, including boards and commissions, to ensure that city government reflects the diversity of the city, establishing and maintaining relationships with the community organizations representing our diverse population, and reporting regularly on metrics measuring our progress. Over the summer, we have interviewed individuals who hold this role in other cities to hear firsthand how they have structured it, what has worked well and what hasn't worked as well. We have also obtained documentation from other communities, specifically job descriptions and roles and responsibilities to aid in our defining of the role. The plan is to submit a formal request for your consideration at your next regular meeting. If the council approves this proposal, we would begin advertising the position shortly thereafter and have a robust interview process, which would include our staff, city council, and advocacy groups, to name just a few. Our hope would be to have someone on board before the Thanksgiving Day holiday. Thank you, and please let me know if you have any questions. Sincerely, Gary Christensen, Mayor of Malden.
Next order of business.
Paper 287-20. Mayor's communication regarding COVID-19 small business and rental assistance program. You're gonna have to bear with me. I have to get that one up. Let's see, COVID. Let's see. Sorry about this. Okay, sorry for the delay. Dear members of City Council, the COVID-19 pandemic has upended our world and propelled us to act to protect our community. This spring, with your support, the City of Malden Redevelopment Authority launched 2 programs to stabilize our residents and businesses in the wake of this public health crisis. Today, I am pleased to share with you our COVID-19 Small Business and Rental Assistance Program report, which details each program and discusses consideration for future rounds of assistance. As indicated in the report, these programs helped hundreds of households stay in their homes and protected small businesses across the city from closure. I am proud of what we have accomplished together and thank you for your continued partnership and support of these programs. I also want to recognize the MRA for their dedication, creative initiative, and determination in administrating these programs. Never in recent history have we established such sizable and impactful programs so expediently, and despite such unprecedented challenges, the MRA's hard work in committing to meeting the needs of residents and businesses has been an indispensable service to the city. As we move forward, my office and the MRA will continue to meet weekly to discuss the growing and changing needs of our community during this pandemic. Both renters and small businesses will continue to need our assistance, and we anticipate sharing our new proposals very soon. In the meantime, the MRA is available to discuss the report with you and to answer any questions you may have. Sincerely, Gary Christensen, Mayor of Malden.
Do I have a motion to place these communications on file?
Make a motion.
On Councilor Spatafora's motion, seconded by Councilor Kamel, to place these communications on file. The clerk will call the roll. You're muted.
Oh, Anderson.
Anderson, yes.
Kamel.
Kamel, yes.
Condon.
Condon, yes.
Crow.
Yes.
DeMaria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Linehan, yes.
Murphy.
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley.
Yes.
Spatafora.
Spatafor, yes.
Winslow.
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes.
Carries 11-0.
The communications have been placed on file. Next order of business.
Committee reports 283-20, committee report, finance paper 265-20, order that the sum of $1,200,000 is appropriated for available general fund free cash for the purchase of covered trash and recycling toters for all eligible households in the city of Malden as determined by the city of Malden ordinances.
Councilor Kamel.
Thank you. Last week we had a informative and well-attended Finance Committee meeting for the next two papers here. This one has to do with our trash program that we had discussed in great detail prior to the COVID situation. This piece right here, we discussed at length, decoupled the piece that funds the barrel and recycling tote purchases. These are covered totes, and it goes a long way to solving many issues that we frequently have in our city, from trash blowing down the street to giving folks the flexibility to have the right trash sort of program for them. They can either stick with the bags or go with the trash tag. So this was successfully voted out of committee, and I move to have it approved by the full city council.
Councilor Kamel, would you, I'd like to entertain a tabling motion on this particular paper. If that's okay. We need to table this paper until next week. We haven't, our free cash hasn't been certified yet. We thought it would have been
I'm
certified.
sorry, I did not see that come through.
I apologize.
Okay.
That was a last minute change. So
All right.
we don't want to approve.
Is that comes through from Chuck? I apologize. I didn't see that.
So if you can make a motion to.
I make a reluctant motion to table.
Second.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we don't do it next week when we're not on camera. You're talking about 2 weeks from now, correct?
Yeah, we're going to put it should be the next full meeting. But I table it. It will be on the table for our next full meeting, and then we will move to bring it off the table.
Thank you for
So it's not gonna come up committee of the whole.
Thank you.
I second that motion.
Okay, so on Councilor Kamel's motion, seconded by Councilor Murphy to table this paper, the clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamel,
Kamel, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow,
Yes.
DeMaria,
yes,
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora,
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Pika,
Dika, yes.
papers table, 11-0.
Next order of business.
Paper 284-20, committee report finance, paper 257-20, order that the sum of $132,149.50 be in the same is hereby appropriated from the TNC surcharge municipal distribution account to cover the following expenses: road milling and paving, utility structure and adjustments, pedestrian signal upgrades, wheelchair ramp upgrades, and new crosswalk line striping with thermoplastic at the intersection of Highland Ave and Medford Street. Council Kamel.
Councilor Kamel.
Thank you. So again, this is coming from last week's Finance Committee. It was referred there. It's being voted out unanimously. These little background, these are rideshare funds that come from a small fee. I believe it's 9 cents that comes off of each Lyft or Uber ride that originates in the city of Malden. The funds add up quite quickly, and they've been increasing year after year. And as we've done the past 2 years, these have been steered en masse instead of broken up towards steered altogether towards one intersection that requires some attention. And the Finance Committee and councilors as a whole have been showed a lot of good team spirit, no squabbling about who was getting what, everybody having a good community-minded approach to this, and want to thank the entire Finance Committee for a great job on it.
Thank you. Councilor Spatafora.
Make a motion to pass?
Second.
Councilor O'Malley.
I didn't have my hand up for that one, Council, so I went on a whim and asked the Pat.
It's set up. I must have not have
It
hit
was
it.
from last time. I apologize,
Sorry.
but hopefully we get a second.
I just want to say that I'm fully in support of this. Councilor Murphy and I, we benefited from the revamping of the nightmare intersection of Main, Winter, and Forest using these funds. Councilor Linehan benefited over in Oak Grove when we redid Winter and Glenwood Street in Washington. So I think it does make a lot of sense when we put these funds into problem areas that we're dealing with. Councilor Condon, you are a fierce advocate for Ward 2, and I'm looking forward to driving through that new intersection after it's redone.
Great, thank you. So on Councilor Spatafora's motion, I heard a second, but I don't remember who
I
said
think it was
it.
Condon.
Seconded by Councilor Condon. The clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamel,
Mel, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow,
Yes.
DeMaria,
Yes.
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora,
Metaphor, yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes.
Paper carries 11-0.
Okay, next order of business.
Docket is clear.
Docket is clear. Personal privilege. Councilor Winslow has his hand up first.
Right, quick. Well, I just want to say a couple positive things that I've seen over the last couple of weeks in Malden. One positive is there was a group of residents that went through the city protesting and demanding that we extend the moratoriums on evictions. And I think the great thing at the start of that, and Councilor Linehan and I think Councilor O'Malley were there for part of it, the protesters were on the sidewalk, Summer Street, and the Malden police were there, and they, there was a good conversation between the police and the demonstrators, and I think that just made sure that the demonstrators, walked peacefully through the community, made their point, brought attention to their cause, but all in a peaceful manner, and it was great to see the demonstrators and the police talking and working peacefully to make this point that's so important to people in our community. And the other thing, I just wanted to thank all the my fellow counselors and the residents who turned out for the various cleanups that went throughout the city this past Saturday, and also Bobby Knox and the DPW for supporting those. It was just great to get a chance to clean up areas that normally I think we would do in spring, but we were able to get those done now. And there was also a new snippet on Channel 4 News. So just positive things that that our citizens are doing and are doing together with our city. So just wanted to shout out to all the residents who made this a peaceful and cleaner week for Malden. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kamel?
Well, at the risk of being redundant, Councilor Winslow's trigger finger was quicker than mine, but I wanted to thank the folks for coming out on National Cleanup Day. We had some folks come up to High Rock and some residents and some Cub Scouts, including my own Cub Scout that I pressed into duty. Cleaned up quite a bit of broken glass up there. We made a big dent on it. Can't always get everything, but it's good to have the community come together and take care of green space. Has been something we talked about a few times tonight. Take care of our precious green space. And a reminder, not that there's any teenagers listening, but please don't break your bottles. Just use cans like I did when I was in high school.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley?
Thank you, Madam President. I would just like to ask if we could do a moment of silence for the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Absolutely. All rise. You may be seated.
Thank you very much for that. I also want to thank the volunteers who showed up in force at Waits Mount this weekend for a cleanup. We cleaned up substantially. We've done this many years now. I inherited it from my predecessors, and we've really come together and figured out a great way to suck up the glass. It's amazing what a generator and some industrial shop vacs will do. So if anyone has any glass issues, let me know. I got some good equipment, and I'm more than willing to come out and help. I'd like to welcome Soul City Yoga to Malden Center. The owner, Chanel and Sarah, had a very nice socially distant ribbon cutting this evening. I was able to attend. It's a great place. Definitely check it out. It's in the new Jefferson Apartment Group development right across the street from our new City Hall. I'd like to wish the Jewish community a Yom Kippur that's coming up. In addition, we have some great news when it comes to new recreational facilities that are in the works. The City of Malden and myself are going to be sponsoring a community engagement meeting for the next phase of the Spot Palm Brook Greenway. And this project will be online on September 30th at 6 p.m. And if you'd like to sign up for that meeting or get more information about what's going on, you can go to www.cityofmalden.org/spot Palm Brook Greenway, and you'll be able to get more information there. Lastly, I think there might have been some technical issues earlier with microphones and clicking in prior to a vote being taken. I just want to caution the council and the city in general. This docket tonight proposed a cumulative expenditure of $2.6 million. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and I really think that we need to take real careful look at how we're going to spend our money going forward. Perilous times call for real fiscal responsibility at the moment. Looking forward to having that conversation in finance. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Di Maria.
Thank you, Madam President. And these are the evenings that I am very appreciative for personal privilege. So I would like to finish my very short ending to my comment. And I believe I ended with, we are at the cusp of a housing crisis in the midst of a COVID pandemic. And there are so many Maldonians losing their jobs and their quality of life. The bottom line, I believe, that this project of expending $1.2 million out of CDBG money, as proposed, is fiscally irresponsible. We should certainly not be creating more debt for our Malden. Thank you, Madam President, for allowing me the time to end my comment.
Thank you. Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be brief. I also wanted to echo what some of my colleagues have said in terms of thanking the community volunteers that came out for the park cleanups this weekend. I definitely learned a lot about how much how much trash can be lurking in the parks that you can't see when you just casually walk through. But we had a great crew. It looks a lot better. We're definitely going to do it again. And Councilor O'Malley, I'm definitely going to pick your brain about that glass vacuuming situation. I spent so much time bent over picking up shattered bottles. You wouldn't believe it. But the other thing that I just wanted to just quickly give a shout out, I had a constituent who brought a question to the mayor and I and the police chief about speeding on Glenwood Street, which I think we all know is a pretty fast cut through. And so I wanted to shout out Paul Weston for coming up with the idea to put some type of barrier down the middle of Glenwood between Woodland and Oak Grove. And while we weren't able to do the barrels, the police chief was able to put in some flex posts, and I've been out there checking it out over the last few days, and it's amazing how much it's speeding down the cars coming around the curves in particular. So that should help some of that cut through traffic coming through not just Ward 3, but Ward 4 and beyond. It is just a pilot, though. The chief was able to get it done so that we could test it out. So I would encourage any community members who have interacted with it to let me know what they think. If we have good data points around people responding well to it, in addition to the information about the speeding reduction, then that'll help us to basically make the case for it to stick around. So thank you again to my constituent Paul Weston, and also to the mayor and the chief for making that happen quickly so that we could quickly try out something and get that solved.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Madam President. In all of, let me restart that over. With everything everyone's been facing with COVID, and how it's affected our lives, we have had some people in Malden who have just not let it get in the way of their dream. And it happened last weekend. I know there were more than the 2 people that I'm going to mention today, but I don't know exactly who they all are. But Ward 5 had 2 residents who had trained for the Boston Marathon. And obviously there were many, many runners who were just heartbroken when the marathon got canceled and then postponed again. But they did come up with an idea, Boston Marathon, to do a virtual marathon. And last Saturday, we had 2 of our residents in Ward 5, Jackie Ecker and Nina Collins, who both ran a virtual marathon and finished. And it was amazing. It was amazing to see the pictures. It was amazing. I was actually at the finish line for Nina. Unfortunately, I didn't get to the finish line for Jackie. But it does go to show that even when faced with a lot of obstacles and uncertainty, people can still follow their dream and still, continue in life what they want to do. So a big shout out to both Jackie Ecker and Nina Collins for, completing their virtual marathon, and also to every other runner in Malden who ran, whose name I don't know. But I thought it was just a really good feel-good story to show that life does go on and you can still fulfill your dreams even during all of this chaos that we're faced with. So thank you.
Thank you. And no other lights I see. Councilor Spatafora.
I'm sorry, Council. I thought I had my hand up. I just want to thank the Ward 3 Councilor and the Ward 4. I participate in the cleanups, and it's always good to see people come out and clean the community, and I echo, I think, what both councilors said. But I will give credit. Councilor O'Malley made this mention before. I don't know if it was in the form of a motion, but it's certainly something we need to do at the state level. I did East Border Road in a cleanup, and I filled up 3 bags of trash. The majority, and I'm not exaggerating, there had to be 500 nips in that. And actually, Council Linehan and myself heard a resident complain about them. I know Councilor O'Malley made a point a long time ago, but it was, their kids probably having a couple drinks there and they're throwing them out the window. So I think until we get them to be outlawed, Council Kamel made a good point. If you're going to drink them, just throw them in the back seat of your car or at least recycle them. And the other thing that I call the new nip, but I've never seen it before, is marijuana now comes in plastic tubing, and it has a label on it. And cleaning up, I never saw it, so I was cleaning up East Border Road, and I probably found 24 of them. And again, I just implore you, it is legal, it's not a problem, but it is illegal to dump on the ground. So maybe the state can make that into a redeemable bottle, or make it out of something that's biodegradable, because kids will be kids, and it is a legal substance now. But again, just do not throw them on our streets, whether it be nips or whether it be paper bags, or certainly that. So that would be something that it reminded me of the nips, but certainly learned something new there. So I appreciate the cleanup. I know there's a bunch more scheduled. And I think it's worth just reminding the community that the councils are out there hardworking, and any way we can work on those nips would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Councilor Kamel's motion to adjourn. Clerk will call the roll.
Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Kamel,
Kamel, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Crow,
Yes.
DeMaria,
DeMaria, yes.
Linehan,
Linehan, yes.
Murphy,
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley,
O'Malley, yes.
Spatafora,
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow,
Winslow, yes.
Sika.
Sika, yes.
Meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Night.